Today, I'm going to bring you the top 5 basketball cards going up that you should be investing in before the season kicks off on December 22nd. Yeah, so there's 5 guys that I found in particular that should really be due for a spike early in the season, and you want to have your money in them now because their cards are probably as low as they're going to be. Before we get into that, I want to remind you of the Sports Card Society. We're almost every day. I email, my team and I do a lot of research, and we email a special made video to our members outlining a specific sports card investment that they should be investing in that we are not telling to the public. And it's not a card that we are also investing in. For instance, about a month ago, we recommended the John Morant PSA 10 Select Courtside. It went for a high of $1,400, almost $1,500. We were recommending it about a month ago. You were able to get it for about $650, $700. We were recommending the Keldon Johnson back in October, and you were able to pick the silver PSA 10 up for about $275. And today it's going for $450, $500, $515. So some pretty good returns there in just a couple months. But anyways, be sure to hit the like. By the way, the link is in the description. SportsCardSociety.com. Also, our members get access to our resources, and one of them is we have a resource that gets them 20-day PSA grading for just $25. And if you go on the PSA website, you'll see that the PSA has 25-day grading for $50. So pretty good resource there. Again, link in description, sportscardsociety.com. Hit the like button too. I really appreciate that, seriously. And if you're on this channel, you've probably been on it before, go ahead and subscribe so you can get notified of this content as soon as it comes out. All right, let's get rolling. I'm going to be using the Market Movers tool. If you're not familiar with that, it's this beautiful looking data visualization tool that has tons of tools that I'm not even going to I would have to make a multiple hour-long video to show you how powerful this thing and all the different things you can do. But what I've done here is I pulled up the player in a 3-month time frame. I can pick different time frames. The first guy we're going to talk about is RJ Barrett. I chose his optic, his prism, and his hoops to look at. Base card in the PSA 10. And this is the chart that we have over here. It's only pulled up the optic and the prism for some reason. But anyways, so I'm able to see here on this Market Movers tool. I'll put a link to this tool in the description. Use code SOCIETY for 20% off your first month or your first year, whichever subscription you choose. It gives you 20% off your first payment. Obviously, you get the biggest value by choosing the year because you get 20% off the entire year instead of just 1 month. But both are good. All right. Again, that's code SOCIETY to get that 20% off. Now, RJ Barrett here, I've got his optic and his prism. Dating back 3 months to September. And as you can see that through the dotted line, this card's been steadily going up since then, but obviously it's going up and down and up and down and up and down if you look at all the points, right? The height of this card, I don't think this is a real sale here for the optic for 150 because it's just too much of an outlier. It doesn't make any sense. Sometimes that happens on eBay. There's fake sales on eBay, and I think this is one of them. So we're going to ignore that one. So I'm going to say the real height was probably around 123 for the optic base PSA 10. Prism, it's just been going up too, right? RJ Barrett, $200 now at the height, but you can still get it for, apparently the latest sale was $184 in the Prism and $85 for the optic. Now, RJ Barrett is a guy that the Knicks are going to pretty much be revolving around. And that says a lot because it's only going to be his second year. They've put a lot of things in place that show that RJ Barrett, they are quite committed to him and that he's going to be a very relevant player. And of course, they have a real coach now, and it just legitimizes their team. And they've also, like I said, they've also put other pieces around him that will help him have a very good season. And as you see, RJ Barrett, most guys in the league, most cards had a nice spike here right before the preseason. And then they dipped down. And he had a bit of that too. You know, he had a little spike here, $120 for the optic, $192 for the prism, and then the optic dipped down to $71, and the prism dipped down to, maybe about $178 it looks like. But overall, the optic shows it more than the prism does, what's been normal for most cards in the market. But nonetheless, RJ Barrett is a guy that I think he seems like he's poised to really make some noise and get on a lot more people's radar. Therefore, his card prices go up. The more people's radar you're on, the more, which is the market, because the market is people, the more your cards go up. Okay, so RJ Barrett, that's the first guy. I'm buying his optic, his prism, and his hoops. Not in any particular order, I would prefer the prism. After that, the optic, and probably the select 2. I just didn't pull that up here, and then the hoops. All right, the second guy I have for you is Luka Doncic. Now, he doesn't need any introduction. I pulled up his hoops, optic, and prism, base PSA 10. And what we have here is you can see that he didn't really go down a ton. He had a spike here. Here's his prism at 1887. It dipped down to about 1678. I was recommending this card to my society back in October when the card was in the 1200 range, because this card has an all-time high of a little over 2,000, and it's Luka. I mean, there's not much more sure of a bet than Luka. So me and the society were buying this card back in October for $1,200. Again, link in description, SportsCardSociety.com. If you want to join, it's only $9.99 a month. Great value, and you can cancel anytime. And now it's dipped down to the latest sale. Looks like it was back up into that 1,700 range, but it's Luka. And Kristaps Porzingis seems injured. Doesn't seem like he's going to come back till January. So they're going to extra lean on Luka. So I believe his stats will actually be even more ludicrous than usual. And that's a hell of a way to start the season, especially since we have a reactionary market in the sports card market. If someone exceeds expectations, the market goes nuts, and cards can literally go up. In Luka's case, it's not going to double overnight. But if you're an unknown player, the card can 10x overnight. Look at Taylor Horton. What the hell is his last name? You know who I'm talking about on the Lakers. His cards went from like 50 cents. His prism went from like 50 cents to like $10 overnight. But a guy like Luka, if he starts to exceed expectations, his cards will just they're going to get well over 2,000 during the season. If he exceeds expectations to start the season, then his cards are just going to shoot right up over 2,000, no big deal. His prism, that is. So any of these cards here are a good buy because it's Luka. He's going to get more play. He's going to be even more leaned on to start the season, and I believe his stats are going to be even higher than people expect. All right, so Luka, hoops, optic, prism, or select. You really kind of can't go wrong. His Donruss would be fine too. All right, on to the next dude. Again, this is the Market Movers tool. If you're liking it, link is in the description. Use code SOCIETY for 20% off your first month or your first year, whichever subscription you choose. Next guy is Joel Embiid. I pulled up his 2014 Prism rookie here in the base, red, white, and blue, and silver, PSA 10. Now, you got to remember, in 2014, they made a lot less cards than they do today, and even way less than they did in 2018 with that Luka card I showed you, right? So there's not a bajillion sales here of anything but his Prism base. Not that I would say there's a bajillion, but there's a good number to really be able to track. So, for instance, look at these pop counts. 981 for his Prism base PSA 10. That's another nice thing about Market Movers. It tells you right there what the population count is of the card, which if you're new to this, that is literally the number of those cards in existence in the PSA, in this case, in the PSA 10 format. Luka, his Prism, it's going to clear 15,000 before you know it. Luka's a very popular player, but there's way more supply of that than there is Joel Embiid, although there's more demand for Luka than there is for Joel Embiid. But again, this is a guy posed to really step it up even more so this year because of, again, the pieces they put around him. And if James Harden ends up going to the Sixers, whew, that's just going to, a rising tide lifts all ships. Joel Embiid's cards, just because he's there, and he's a very good player, he's possibly the best center in the league, in my opinion. Top 3 for sure. Big men, anyways, I should say. And if Harden goes there, boom, card's just going to go up instantly just because of that. And his cards remaining pretty flat, although his silver back here in October, 866, 1125, and the latest sale looks like it was about a week ago, 1700. That's quite a nice rise, right? His Prism, what was it going for? It was going for $212. What was the latest sale? $310. I mean, because of the way you're looking at the chart, you didn't think they'd be so different. But if you look at that card back there in October, $225. The latest sale was $310. And go back the last three sales, $280, $295, $310. This card is just trending up. This player. But this card is what we're really talking about, the Prism. So Joel Embiid, another guy to keep on your radar. That's why I love this Market Movers tool, is because it just allows me to see what's going on and what's happened and what the trends are so quickly and have access to data so quickly. It saves me so much time. For my Sports Card Society, this is a massive tool that my team and I use to really figure out where's the value and where is the profit. Okay? All right, the next guy. Trey Young, maybe you've heard of him. In my opinion, Trey Young is going to be the most entertaining, most watched player in the NBA this year, and the Hawks have really surrounded him with a team that can actually get them to the playoffs. I'll say that for sure. I think there's a really good chance they make it to the playoffs, which is a hell of a big step up from last year where they sucked. They didn't even get to go in the bubble. That's how bad they were. Now, Trey followed more of what's been going on with most of the market. Again, to my society, I was recommending buying Trey Young cards back in October. We were getting him for about $425. We were trying to get him for about $400, but $425 is where you could commonly get him. And then, of course, he shot up to $730 for his Prism. I pulled up his Prism and his status card here. You may not know status, but no big deal. That didn't actually come up on this chart. But anyways, so we're looking at the Prism in the Select Concourse. In the PSA 10, it tells you the pop count, 7,700 for the Prism, which is half of Luka, and 646 for the Select. I really like Select because the pop count is so low, and the popularity of Select in the market is rising faster than any other product. Okay, so I really like this Select Trey Young, which I own several of for sure, and I sold a couple of them. I sold them back here because I know I sold it for at least $400, and I bought them back here in the low 200s in October. Pretty good return on my money. This is a card that I was recommending to my society back in October. We were getting it for around $200, $220, and I recommend selling it when it got to $350. And I ended up cashing on some of them around $350 and even some over $400, but I'm still holding some because these cards are going to go back up. These cards are going to go back up. Trey Young, I mean, the first time he beats a legit team and puts up 40 points, the market's just going to go nuts. And they're actually going to see that this is a legit team, and they're going to see remember how good Trey Young really is. Because we all Trey Young's good. He's a really good scorer. But once we get back to seeing him play, and plus he's going to be better this year than he's ever been because he's yet another year developed. And we're going to go, whoa, holy crap, he's really good. I would not be surprised if he ended up being the top scorer in the NBA this year. That's how good it's going to be. And the Hawks put the right guys around him to really support his strengths and fill in for his weaknesses, which is mostly defense, as well as make the defenses of the opposing teams be honest and not double team Trey so much, because if they do, the Hawks are going to be able to make them pay because of the other guys they've put in the lineup. Okay, they're going to be on the court with him. So again, I really like where his card prices are at right now because his Prism got up over 700 just 2-3 weeks ago. His Concourse got to 400 just 2-3 weeks ago, and now his Prism's at 550. His Concourse is at 300, maybe a little less. Good buys. Okay. Again, if you're liking this, give the video a like. I really appreciate it. And subscribe to the channel so you can get alerted of this stuff as soon as possible. All right. And now last guy I got for you is Tyler Hero. I pulled up his rookies, of course. Prism Optic Mosaic Base PSA 10. Now, this one is going all the way back to February. I pulled this one all the way back. So I just want to show you how crazy this got. You could have got his Prism Base PSA 10 for $60 back in February. It shot up all the way to $450. That's a nice investment, huh? $60 to $450. Pretty good return. And that was for the Prism. And the Optic, you could have got that for $60 back in June, and that shot all the way up to 253. Now that was, of course, when they were making the playoff run and Tyler Hero was starting to really make a name for himself. But I think Tyler Hero is a pretty legit player. I was recommending him back to my society end of October, and we were able to get him here for around $200. And he shot up here again to about over $300 for the Prism, about $125 for the Optic. And right now his cards are staying pretty flat. You can still pick them up for apparently about $275, maybe even $250 if you find the right listing on eBay, and about $140, $130 for the Optic. Tyler Hero is a guy, again, that I think that the Heat are really going to invest some more in and really put more around him. I think he's going to be able to make more of an impact than he did last year, and therefore the market is going to be more favorable towards him, and he's really going to get to show more of who he is and how good he is, because I think he's a pretty dang good player. And his pop count's still pretty low. 2,500 for his Prism, 400 for his Optic. So the supply isn't out of control. I think the demand is going to go well up as soon as he starts playing. And people are like, because here there's a lot of us sitting around going, maybe it's just a fluke. Maybe he just had some good games, blah, 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 blah. But I don't think that's the case. I think he's a pretty good player. And you can tell by what the Heat has done, he is going to get more play than he got even in the playoffs. By the looks of it, by what they've done with the team and the shifts that they made and the acquisitions and everything that they've made. So I still like his buy. I would have you very much would have liked to buy him back here, but that's done because here's where we're at now. And I think these are still good prices because you've got to remember his height was 450 and 211, and right now you can get it for like 285 and 160. So there's a lot of money to be made there. I expect these cards to eclipse his all-time highs in the season, and I think it can happen sooner than later. So that's what I got for you today. If you want to join the society, SportsCardSociety.com. Link is in the description. If you like this Market Movers tool and think it can be useful for you, the link is also in the description. Use code SOCIETY for 20% off your first month of your first year, whichever subscription you choose. And give this video a like. Smash that button. Come on, you can do it. Ba, ba, ba. And then subscribe. Get alerted to this stuff as soon as possible. Basketball season is upon us. It's coming on Tuesday. I'm shooting this on the 20th. It's on the 22nd is when it starts. I'm so excited. Remember, you are worthy of anything you want, and you deserve whatever you want. You're awesome.